Hey everybody, welcome back to the Quest for the Bestest. It's the podcast from Backlot Banter where we review every single Palme d'Or winner in random order. We love talking about the Cannes Film Festival. Today, those funky fresh Frenchmen over in Cannes, France, picked a funky Italian movie for us to watch. We're talking
This is
Italian.
not today. This is a while ago.
In the world of the film, which is the podcast that you are watching right now, they picked the movie today.
What? We're canonically in the past? That's
Wow.
amazing.
We are flattening time. We're taking time at that as a flat circle, and we're just folding it in on itself right here.
Oh,
Big-
time taco.
Like a waffle, a taco, or a pancake. One of those things. Padre, 1977, an Italian film directed by the Taivani brothers, Paolo and Vittorio, ostensibly based on the true story of its main character, Gavino Ledda, who we'll probably spend most of this episode talking about, as he's the main character of the movie. Well, we just got to roll right into it. We got to get started.
We got to just go.
There's nothing more to talk about other than to remind you that last time we talked about Maria Candelaria. There's lots more to talk about. There's a ton more to talk about.
There is.
Maria,
we should do it.
Pack a lunch. This is going to be an hour and 15-minute long YouTube video.
Maria Candelaria, a 6.4, went below Blue is the Warmest Color and a tiebreaker. It's at spot number 37 on the list. So today, movie number 54. Well, I don't know. Where's Padre Padrone going to end up? I'm not sure. But without any further ado, Abram, do you have a comment? And then we can get talking about the film.
So
What counts as further ado?
I think the entire episode from
I just think we need to delineate what is ado and what's further ado, you know?
Yeah, if we could slow this intro down a little bit further, I think that'd be good.
Well, if only Tucker's favorite literary master wrote a long play about this very subject.
Woody Allen?
That's right.
Let me tell you a fact of the world here, all right?
Okay.
We're not getting that much action on the current YouTube channel.
Well, I know that YouTube just recently messed with the recommendations, like the algorithm, so that's probably why. Why.
We're being punished
For some reason,
by
YouTube did that to us about a year ago, but
yeah, hang on. That's pretty odd. Must have been in some sort of pilot program for it.
But here's the real treasure trove, right? Because we used to post Quest for the Bestest on an old YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
And there we reviewed all of the Best Picture winners, and those videos still get comments.
That's true.
So,
BLB Archives. Go check it out.
If you want to
I would
view...
like to take...
Yeah, go ahead, Abram.
Yeah, if you would like to watch 4 Quest episodes in the span of one current Quest episode, go back and watch the first 4 episodes of the original show.
Yeah.
Show evolves. What can we say?
They're all about 18 minutes long. But on this review of Gone with the Wind, Julia Carl 584 2 weeks ago on this YouTube video said,
and we released that Gone with the Wind video, like 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago?
Probably longer than that.
It was 3.
Yeah.
But hold on to your chairs, your desks for this one.
Okay,
here, right?
here
We got a nice piece of incisive commentary from Julia Carl. I think that young people are used to CGI and not real stories.
Well, Julia, that's hard. That's hard to recken with. I mean, what a truth nuke that you've just dropped on us, to use some young person
truth
lingo.
Nuke, indeed. The sirens are going off, and I'm diving for cover.
That is, I'm getting inside a lead-lined fridge right now.
That's right.
I opted for this comment not only because I think it's important for us to be put in our place sometimes, but because the next most recent comment was from 3 weeks ago from Anthony Arena, and it was a 280-word long comment explaining how Tanner was wrong about the character of Addison in All About Eve.
Wow.
And I figured that's not worth reading out of the show.
Hey, listen, I'll take those lumps. I probably was wrong. In retrospect, that's a great movie, and I don't really remember why I had a lot of issues. Why I had any issues with it.
Can I do a nice little throwback though? Because this just shows that the show has evolved. because Abram used to read the longest comments of all time, every single episode of Quest.
Yeah.
And now he's like, you can't get it. You
can't be bothered.
He even pasted it into a word counter to give us the exact number of how many words long it was.
I did. I wanted, because I thought it was a good novelty to it. Now, I'll make a promise to you. I will, and I promise this, I will read out a comment of any length next week if you comment on this video about what movie did we watch?
Padre.
Padrone.
Yeah.
Any length comment you want, you put it there. I will read it next week. That is a promise.
Oh my god.
Wait, but usually the episode doesn't go up before we record the next one.
No.
Next opportunity, first opportunity I have to read it out.
There's a long comment on this video.
Yeah, Abram's promise will be kept, and we'll all have to make sure we do our part to keep it. But yeah, that's a BLB promise.
Yes,
and those are good for absolute dog ass.
Right. Take him to the bank. They will throw him out for you.
Those checks bounce.
That's right, they bounce big time.
Tanner, what happens in this movie, man? Can you give us a little plot description?
Yeah, there's a reason we're stalling.
Is there a reason that we?
As Timo already alluded to, this is a autobiographical. No, sorry, not an autobiographical film. A biographical film about the life of Italian author Gavino Leda, who grew up on the island of Sardinia in Italy, post-war Italy. I believe we're meant to understand here. Grew up the son of a poor shepherd, a poor shepherding family. Was pulled out of school by his father, a very, very abusive father, and forced to, from a very young age, tend to the sheep. Doesn't have any formal education or anything like that, but eventually works up the courage in his 20s to walk away from that life and forge a new life for himself. He joins the army, and he becomes like a radio technician, and then he goes to college, and eventually becomes an author. So there's a lot of drama and tragedy that befalls him in this story that largely, chronicles his childhood and then a little bit of his early 20s. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll get to it. There's some fucked up stuff that happens in this movie. It's very what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find the right adjective to discuss it along the way. Don't worry, gentlemen.
Okay. Tucker, you get the first shot at the adjective. What is the adjective that you are going to use?
Oh.
Only one.
Is there an adjective that describes like a sine wave? Like I just did wavy.
Squiggly?
Does that squiggly?
Sure.
Let's call this movie squiggly.
It's a bit squiggly.
I find this movie very odd. I don't think I liked it that much, but it's a movie that oscillates between really intense, confusing sequences of some visceral imagery and some interesting sound design and things that are very much, they artistically represent the very complicated and dark thoughts that these people in a very hard time living very hard lives have. And I think those sequences are quite striking and interesting and filmically engaging. And so that's the top of the squiggle. The bottom of the squiggle is where most of this movie operates, which is just that kind of a low hum of very little characterization, very little character progression, just clip it along, and things are shitty. And what I take away from it are those moments of interesting filmmaking, but otherwise, I'm not really sure on a thematic level too much what I'm supposed to get out of this journey that this character goes on, because Gavino, his story from point A to point B, I'm like, okay, yeah, he has grown and changed quite a bit, but the beat to beat progression of this movie is just all over the place, and I'm like, it's just kind of, things just happen in this movie all the time. I'm like, who are you people? What's happening here? How did you get here? How did you learn this? Like, things just kind of pop out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, all right, guess we're on this track now. But yeah, I don't know. It was squiggly and slippery and kind of hard for me to pin down what this movie was really going for.
Mm-hmm. I'll hop in next. I'm feeling, I don't know, juicy. And my adjective will be baffling. Tanner used this in our chat, and the longer I got into the movie, the more I said to myself, I'm just confused and baffled and not understanding. This movie, I think I had a strong barrier to getting a real good read on it. But I did watch it because I'm looking at all these frames of the pictures on IMDb, and I'm like, yes, I watched this movie. But like Tucker, it didn't strike me as all that interesting beyond its kind of central idea of that the father is like evil and like here to domineer and kind of ruin sort of this kid's life. Um, there's disturbing sections to it that are like, okay, yeah, but they're also not produced all that well, I would argue, in that it's supposed to be visceral imagery, but actually isn't because it's performed in a hokey and kind of stilted way that doesn't sell the brutalism of it to me. And then we end up in like this later life section, and the characters are so stubborn and they don't develop, and I'm like confused and unsatisfied by the ending. Like Tucker says, things just happen, and I don't get why. And we're doing a funeral, and I'm like, who died? I can't even tell. Like, what?
Yeah, who are these characters? What is their dynamic?
Like,
what's going on
who
here?
are these
There's certainly a couple moments of that.
So I did not like this movie all that much. I didn't get a whole lot out of it, really. It didn't leave much for me to chew on. So yeah, well, I'll have negative points to say, and there were some sequences that I liked. There were a couple scenes that I thought had a little bit of a spark and had something special to them. But other than the kind of social issue quality of it, I don't know, not a whole lot. I mean, it's like 70s fare to me is kind of how it feels. This kind of
Sure.
70s movies vibe. Yeah.
Parentheses derogatory.
Yeah. Tanner, you can go ahead. Go next.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a cold film. It has a real sense of remove to it. It doesn't really take or go through any pains to like really envelop you in this story. I think because it is so raw and brutal, to throw around a couple words that you guys have already utilized. I think it lacks that little bit of onboarding, and that's neither here nor there. I think that is an easy way to get an audience, perhaps more general, maybe not 70s can film attendees into this film, because I think there are sequences in this that are quite artful and then perhaps lean into that sense of cold, that sense of remove that I mentioned already. But I don't know, like it seems a little bit impenetrable to me personally, and even in the moments where I like try to dig into it or try to get involved in the filmmaking of it, the thematics of it, the artistry of Padrone, I just feel a little bit left at sea, a little bit like lacking a little bit. Like, okay, I'm here, I'm in it, I'm trying to get into it at least, and what is there for me to grab onto here? So yeah, I mean, yeah, not one that I was like super enveloped in, I guess, generally.
Abram, how do you round us out? What did you think?
Here's my adjective.
Here we go.
I think the film is barren, and I think it's very intentionally barren. I don't like it though. I think that ultimately my issue with the film comes down to a lack of emotion I have really in any direction for either the son or the father, and I think the film is very concerned with the relationship between the son and the father, and so I have to say I'm not so sure I found it impenetrable. I almost feel like the inverse was true for me, insofar as that I sort of felt like I was being steeped in this narrative about a father with a particular worldview, who is challenged by a son whose life exists beyond it, and this sort of intergenerational conflict between them. I sort of felt like what the film was concerned with was right at the fore for me. I think that because I couldn't muster much hatred for the father, not because his actions aren't detestable, but just because I feel like I don't really know him in any particular way. And because the empathy that I have for the son doesn't feel like it extends much beyond the facts of the plot until we get towards the end and sort of the role of language gets introduced. I think that's when the film is at its most interesting for me. I think for the most part, I'm just sort of, I'm trapped in this barren space with these two characters wherein I understand the plight and the violence, but I don't really feel anything. Maybe that's because of all, the crazy TikToks we watch nowadays.
That's true. There was shockingly little CGI in this film for my liking.
CGI.
Yeah, I just don't. It's just so real.
Can I also say I wish there was some more CGI because there's a lot of animals really getting stabbed or really getting kicked in this movie.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Which also,
I wonder about the production of that. I guess. I mean, if we really want to, we can go into specifics on that specific point. But I was thinking through that while I was watching the film.
Well, I was just watching it and thinking, there's no way that's not a real lamb that he kicked in the neck over and over and over.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah, like that part is for sure like just actually like probably one of those fucked up Taviani brothers kicking a sheep.
Yeah, so I guess where I ended is I think the film is very good at sort of capturing me in this barren mood. I just don't think that I get enough out of either character to be invested in the violence being perpetrated in the film.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Tucker, where then should we begin the at-large discussion of this film? What topic area interests you most at this point?
Well, I want to talk about the first moment where I really felt like I had like woken up and started watching a different movie. Where I find this movie jumps around so much and doesn't properly establish its own world or characters or larger premise. The moment that there's kind of I think there's a time skip, and then we're in this situation with Gavino and his father and a bunch of other people, and it took me like 4 minutes into this scene. I'm like, that's his family.
Yeah, there's like there's other
he has a family.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wait, okay, so the actors, maybe it's also that the transfers kind of low quality. The one I was watching, I'm like, I can't tell who's supposed to be his sister or his mother, or like, is there like a brother there and that's his like wife to be? Like, there's this relationship and this dynamic with all these characters that I felt overwhelmed by. The way the movie set itself up was so simple. It was this kid without any friends, without any guidance, lives and takes care of sheep with his father essentially just like leaving him to his own devices and like reprimanding him when he does something wrong.
And see the mother briefly.
I couldn't even really tell it was his mother. I was like, is that a teacher? Is that because I kind of thought that maybe his mom had died, given where I knew the movie was going to go. Like, the movie doesn't explain anything about its characters. The only ones I'm certain of who they are and what their dynamic are the father and the son. But then we get introduced to all these other characters, and I'm like, who are you? Like, what's going on here?
I legitimately, was this a shared experience amongst everyone here that when we do that time jump, which is a very humorous jump over, is like Gavino is now 20 years old, just text on screen, pretty humorous to me. And then we just go to like they're in front of this building and they're all
because it's so complicated. The actual mechanism, they stop being sheep farmers. Right, they stop needing to shepherd because they
inherit a olive garden. They inherit an olive garden.
Unlimited breadsticks.
What are they? What's
an orchard? An olive grove.
Thank you.
Grove, yeah. So and that mechanism is like
that's actually that's an even more confusing step because okay, I can buy that they're like essentially sharecroppers on this larger, richer family's plot of land. I can gather that, and that's something that I don't necessarily need to have established before. But when the crux of a major turning point in this movie is that Gavino goes to work for this thing, and then someone gets hit with a giant thing, and then he dies.
So I think
and I'm
that
like, wait, who is that?
that was like the son of the wealthier family that was perhaps supposed to inherit the grove, but they kill him. They come together and they kill him.
Intentionally?
So that,
This part's over my head.
I think, yeah, definitely intentionally.
There
So they can get the grove.
There's a line of dialogue.
Meek shall inherit the grove.
Mhm.
There's a line of dialogue early on where we learn that this guy is smoking his cigar inside out
Yes.
to trap the smoke in his mouth so that he can't be seen by people with whom he has. I think the wording is like ancient debts.
Yeah,
Yes.
or like
Something like that.
ancient
debts.
vendettas
Mhm.
too, because it's
That's right. That's right. He's
it's
like riding on a
Sardinia.
horse, and there's
It's
like
Sardinia.
Uh-huh.
And then he comes to help shear the sheep, and then they fart, and they're like, "We're gonna fart, and we're friends,
yeah.
because we're farting."
Yeah, the
Yeah,
fart
and then-
joke.
that's
and
not
then
a
they-
joke. That happens
then-
in the movie.
I think they kill a sheep for real, like in
They-
the real world, and they film it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and then,
And then they
they
film it.
kill a guy for fake in the movie.
Yes. And
But
because
then,
of
that
that
guy's
guy's
the
death.
son, and there's a mother who has control of it, and they all go to
Mhm.
this house, and I'm like, I don't know who anyone is in
Yeah.
this situation.
And then
I
ultimately-
didn't even know he was
keep,
sick.
They keep bringing in people too. There's like the one moment where the one daughter like emerges from the shadows like she's goddamn Captain America. She comes out, but and
And
while this is
ultimately-
all happening,
Doesn't it all not even matter though? Because eventually the grove dies because of a
Yes.
bad winter, and then that is
they
why.
think that they're gonna get rich off of selling this olive oil, right? They're gonna harvest the olive oil, and they're all gonna be rich, and they don't have to be shitty shepherds anymore. Okay, it's gonna be perfect. Everyone during this scene where they're in this house and they have the dead body of the son in the bed is like they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, in a couple of years, I'll be out of here. I can go have this grand life," and they're all imagining what their lives are gonna be like once they don't have to live in the fucking countryside anymore. And then that doesn't work out. At all.
Relatable, right, Tanner?
Relatable stuff. Hey, listen, there are some elements of this film that I found a little bit relatable. I will give it that. So, to that end,
Which
that,
elements, Tanner? I'm thinking of some
Yeah,
that
we
you
got
maybe
that.
don't want to be relating
to
to.
that end, I think we can delve into a little bit of characterization stuff here. Because
Yeah.
I think one of the more interesting aspects that comes out of that, and I think it's also a little bit telling that we're jumping basically. I mean, good lord, how far into
Halfway,
this
we are
movie does that
halfway
scene
into the
happen?
movie now.
Yeah.
This little bit that we're talking about here. Yeah.
Yeah. This happens, and then the father, whose name is Efficio, he goes to basically a wholesale guy who's like he's the guy who buys the olive oil and like distributes it.
Mhm.
And I feel like this scene is pretty interesting to me, where this wholesale guy and his son are basically like, "No, listen, man, we can't give you the 10,000 lira because of like these import tariffs and so on and so forth and all of these things." It's
Yeah.
kind of the first moment where Efficio, Gavino's father, is like out of his depth and feels like he is outmatched by somebody in a scene. He is not in control at all, and you can I got to give credit to the performer's name here is
Omaro.
Omero Antonucci.
Mhm.
Because I think he plays that disconcertment really well, where he's just like, yeah, sure, like import tariffs and these governmental bodies that set prices. Yeah, I definitely know what's going on here for sure. Gavino, go get your accordion or whatever. I think that scene kind of works for me a little bit of diffusing the relationship, diffusing the patriarchal power dynamic that we've come to understand over the first hour and ish of the movie.
Yeah, well, because maybe let's back up a little bit here and talk about this dynamic as it is the central plot thread of the film.
Yeah.
And how it develops for the first half of the film. Little Gavino is pulled out of school, and a rather striking scene that then is replayed at the end of the film. I think actually for good
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
And I like the production design of this school scene that is, it's the beginning of compulsory education. They've set up a makeshift classroom inside the city hall, and the really striking line from father when the kids start laughing after he's fully pulled them out, because little Gavino peed his pants while standing there.
Yes.
But then father comes in and says, don't laugh at Gavino. Today it's his turn, but tomorrow maybe yours.
Yeah.
And that kind of this immediately we're cast into the mentality of this father and how he is very set in the kind of like old ways of you do your work and you are fed from it, and like without work you are nothing. And so then the next couple steps of their relationship that we see is the kind of molding and the molding by fire of Gavino into the man that his father wants him to be, and that is through beating. It is through deprivation, leaving him there alone to deal with it. His mother definitely doesn't help when she tells him that that being alone out there is going to sound like a big giant bell, which is a very cool bit of sound design that they use in good to good effect in other parts of the film when he's kind of like not alone.
Of neat directorial flourishes like that in this movie, I would say.
Yeah,
but
and the first one, and this is where again moments of striking filmmaking hit me. The first one is when after the father says, or Bestest says, "You're next," ostensibly to this group of kids, and then we cut to the one by one blank stares of these children as they think about the fact that this is something that's sort of looming over them in their future, and they think about, no, it's not going to be me because my parents told me this, and we're too rich for that. It's not.
I have an older brother.
Yeah.
And there's one that's like, I'm gonna kill myself or pretend to kill myself to get out of this.
Yeah, or I'm gonna jump out a window. Like, and that moment, because it's not only, I think it's cool that we filmically that we sit on the shots, direct shots of these kids' faces, and we hear them like mumbling, and the sound design's kind of echoey. But then the movie does this a couple of times. It begins to overlap. As if everyone is saying these things out loud, it begins to become this sort of cacophonous thing of this sort of unified mind that all of these people are in. The mindset that they all share is something that is so powerful that you can hear it out loud. And that moment, I was like, okay, I'm in the mood of the darkness and the poverty and the social structure of this time. And so that definitely helped set the tone in quite a good way for me. And then when we cut to where, frankly, this is essentially what I think I'm going to remember about this movie is an hour of a kid on a farm with some sheep. Out in the rocky bluffs. That is, it's so long and so repetitive that I almost forgot about the larger structure of this. And this is something that will presumably happen to each of these kids. This is not an uncommon thing. I like that, but we spend so much time isolated with Gavino on this farm that I almost forgot about like the more striking sort of cultural element of it that I think hit me a little bit harder in terms of thematics, because there's so little established, said, done, grown between Gavino and his father that it to me did not warrant it being a full hour of this film.
I mean, I think that to the point about the community, I think that the film goes to great lengths to illustrate that Gavino's fate is not that irregular. It's not necessarily just that he is under this sort of dictatorial patriarch and nobody else is sort of faces his plight. I think that the film is really concerned with this sort of precarity that a lot of people live under. And obviously we see this in one of the moments out in the countryside when Gavino and his friend are slacking off. Gavino has left his post, and then they are both one's implied and one's shown savagely beaten with switches by both of their fathers. And so I think that the film goes to great lengths and in my view is effective at illustrating that Gavino is not only just trapped in a dire family structure, but a dire community structure as well. This is not something that is so easily escaped from. In fact, we actually see a lot of different young men in the portion of the film. They're in their 20s trying to take the same way out because they all face similar issues. And so that's why I think there's this interesting dimension of the film that I don't think is explored as much as I would have wanted it to, but this idea that this is not solely this or put it this way, the father and son dynamic between Gavino and his father is not relegated to just them. It exists in this wider context, and I think that that's a very interesting and powerful motivation for Gavino to escape, and then also what makes it I think very melancholy that he feels like he has no choice but to return.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The moment where that's really hammered home, that he's not alone in this, even though he feels like it, is, I think, this, for me, the second most striking moment of directorial vision in this film is a sequence in which he's playing the accordion out on the bluffs, and ostensibly the message of the song that he's playing is, "I'm Gavino, son of Ibiso,
it's good.
and
It's good.
and this is the plight that I'm in."
Mhm.
And then we get a
Another
flute and a
boy
guitar.
riding by. Yeah.
Well, no, but before that, there are other songs echoing from across the bluffs
I see what you
of
mean.
other
Yeah.
instruments.
Yeah.
The implication being that other boys in this same scenario with their own instruments are
Mhm.
pouring their heart out through their music. And even though they can't communicate to each other directly,
Mhm.
they know they're not alone because they can hear the music
Yeah.
from across the bluffs. And then there's this other kid that goes by and he's talking about how he needs a warm bath for his feet because he's going to
Mhm.
freeze or whatever. I really liked that sequence because, again,
It's a cool sequence.
it was good use of sound design and characterization, with wordless characterization of Gavino, and also this wider world building. I really did like that moment quite a lot.
I think there's a lot of there's more stuff like that I want to shout out here. I mean, we already talked about the sequence with this family unit thinking about their lives after they've gotten rich off of selling olive oil or whatever. That again employs a similar thing to what we talked about a while ago, of this overlapping sort of cacophonous soundscape of internal monologues. I think that happens there again. And there was one other moment. That directed going to the musicality of internal monologue, or singing to oneself but being matched by many others who are living similar lives. When Gavino is first like savagely beaten, I think in the sequence that Abram was talking about, to the point of unconsciousness,
Mm-hmm.
his father cradles him in his arms and sings, but out of it, it's not a lone voice. It is a chorus of voices that comes out of his mouth. That again, that's a pretty interesting flourish.
Yeah.
Perhaps going back to what Tucker was just mentioning, that there are many fathers in this situation who who beat their children and then feel bad about it. They're in similar situations. A little less of an empathetic point than the boys who are left alone on mountains with their instruments or whatever. But
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think another interesting similar sound design technique is and that you're talking about that's used is that what we hear coming out of their mouth, the music is like kind of reinforced with the full orchestral suite of voices. And like there's the much more instruments than we see them playing, and like the accordion, they're playing the accordion, but we are hearing actually like the full orchestration of the piece, and so they're kind of like fleshing out the or like the I interpret it as it's the imagined like glory of this music, and that that you know that it's kind of the difference between what you have and what you can imagine, and that the imagined, it's all right to be in, not in squalor, but that you can supplement your enjoyment of life with knowing these, the songs and having them play in your head to, to improve your daily routine, or in the case towards the end of the film, when Father destroys the radio, and Gavino continues just to whistle the song, and so we kind of, that's like the inverse of expanding what the voice can't make that sound, but now we flip it and we've destroyed the speaker and the radio, which probably thematic that he is able to create these things now that he's trained on that, but then continues with the music, well, really to needle his dad and really to get at him and to like be kind of, mean or fighting a little bit. But I think
Yeah.
that it is, and it shows up many different times where the speaker, what we hear is different than what we would assume this someone singing or humming would sound like.
Right.
I
Right.
I have this question for you guys about the father, and it actually in part exists in that scene you're mentioning, Timo, where there's two moments when we see the father, and we see him, but I don't think he's meant to be seen by anybody else. There's this moment in this sequence when Gavino goes into the bedroom where his father is to get a suitcase out from under the bed,
Mm-hmm.
and and Gavino rests his head on his father's thigh, and for a second his father's hand goes like it's going to caress his son's head, and then he suddenly, as almost as though it's an impulse, he raises it in a fist like he's going to strike him instead.
Mm-hmm.
There's also another moment when, after the olive grove has frozen and the milk has frozen and the mother has turned the milk into this like slushy treat for everybody, we look through a crack in the bedroom door and we see the father eating this slushy milk, no different from the kids. And what these scenes do for me as a viewer is they make me wonder if in reality the film is not so concerned with solely casting the father as a villain, and if there's supposed to be this depiction of him as this man who is he in himself oppressed and trapped in this situation, and it's not that he can't is a just a flawed guy, and you should sympathize with this guy who's beating his son. But I think that the film is trying to show this side to him, and is trying to cast him as this character who has been toughened by his situation and his context, and that leads to these violent excesses and makes him a bad father. But within him is this man who knows no other way to survive, and you see these rare humanizing moments of him, or these moments where it feels like his relationship with Gavino cannot be fixed. Even if he wants to caress the son's head, he doesn't know how to.
Yeah.
I feel like there is something more to how he's being characterized than just his abuse.
Effectively, he is as much a victim of the tradition, the ingrained tradition of this land that is the same that his son is, the same that everybody is.
Yeah. Well, I think
What do we think about this?
I think that I think you're very right that there is an irreparability to it. They can't ever fix this relationship. And that is shown when Gavito will like flinch and kind of, Gavino be like he feels that he's about to be struck by his dad again. And he, much later in his life, he's, we're not exactly sure how old he is when he comes back to Sardinia, but I mean, safe to assume maybe 25, 26, been away for a couple of years in army training and whatnot. And he still has this both childlike demeanor, which is, I think, shows some of like the what the effects of the lack of education are, and not only just his knowledge, but his personality and his behavior too is still more childlike than a lot of other characters. But that the father still in this relationship of power and of fear and obedience is all very, very strong and very unbreakable, even with the kind of, Gavino coming back and being like, I know, I'm learned. I know things now. I need to study. That my work is different than what you imagined work to be. So it just makes me go back to think about what this generational strife is and kind of the definition of how you define the work, because the linguist work and the specifically where I think this character gets inspired to become a linguist is when he's like, I don't speak Italian. He realizes that the language that he talks is actually not all that intelligible by his army superiors, and they're forcing it out of him. And so then it's just like sprinkled in. We don't get a lot of details, but we learn that the work that he's doing is to figure out kind of the uniqueness and the specialness of the Sardinian dialect. And so yet another kind of cultural wide angle like article of oppression on these people that like the Sardinians not only do they have a terrible education system, but they don't even speak in a way that gets them any respect or any intelligibility by their fellow Italians, despite them all, recognizing that they are part of the same country now. Sardinia and Italy not always been unified in like their idea of who they are as a people. So
yeah,
I was waxing on
it's
along
not
there.
something I knew about really. So I think that was an interesting element to bring into this sort of cultural history that this takes place in. And to the point of education, and then tying this to how we view Ebiso as a father character, his relationship with education, I think, is really interesting, and to me, kind of goes against what Abram was saying of like trying to humanize him in a different way. Because
I agree with. I think I know where you're heading with this. Yeah,
because he's a decently smart guy. Like he knows how to handle the.
He can do 5 times 5.
He's got them
times. For the context of this time, he has some sort of education.
He does.
And because of that, I think he sees himself as more powerful because he understands logic a little bit better and math a little bit better than the people around him who are totally uneducated, especially his family members. And the thing that, to me, pushes me even farther away from him as a character is that I feel like he realizes that education is something that has gotten him to the point where he is, which is not in a particularly great position, but he at least like can hold his own in most of these conversations. And yet he continually denies his son education until it is like way too late. And even then, when he's like, "Oh, you're 18, okay, you're gonna be able to get an elementary school education," he's like, "I'll just do it myself." Like, and by which it's obvious that he's not really going to teach him very much. And I read that as almost a fear of being replaced. He has his children that he wants to mold into just doing things for him and not thinking for themselves. And he's worried that if they become educated, they will not just do his bidding and be his subordinates. And so he avoids education close to at all costs, which is, again, it's complicated because I feel like he recognizes that education is important, but he's intentionally withholding it from his children to maintain power over them, which I think is really, really complicated.
I think that the truth, much like in many cases, lies somewhere in that gray area. Wherein, yes, Tucker, I think you're totally right. That I mean, there at least there are scenes to make you think along those lines. About Efisio, about Gavino's father, that he at least he prioritizes holding education as a form of power over Gavino and his other children, and like almost seems to throw his hands up at one point in the movie, and he's like, "All right, if everyone just wants to move away so bad, I guess you can all move away, but you're gonna do what I say when you move away. You're gonna become a house servant, and you're gonna become day laborers, and Gavino, oh, the bravest and smartest of them all, you're gonna enlist in the Italian army, buddy, and see how you like that." Like there is a distinct level of
I like them olives.
Exactly. But that there is that distinct level of like domineering control he has and wants to maintain, perhaps in conversation with the moments of the fleeting moments of softness that he almost grabs onto, we almost see, but for large portions of his screen time, for large portions of his presence in the film, he's a mean bastard, and he's not to be liked or trusted, really.
I think that I want to complicate the education point a little bit, though, because I'm not exactly sure that he is actually that educated. Because I think it's important that the sign of education, both for him and then to his son, or that he lords over his son, is his ability to recite timetables.
Yeah.
we know that he can read, and this is something that he weaponizes when he does not put a signature on the line for Gavino to leave to Germany. But there's this moment where I believe he's walking by himself and he's reciting timetables. This is what he has. He has these facts that exist really only if you memorize them. And what he tries to lord over Gavino when they're in this courthouse after we learn that he's sold the farm and the family unit is being recalibrated is that he sort of chides Gavino with the fact that he can't immediately reproduce the answer to 5 times 5.
Don't worry, pal. I'll teach you. Don't worry about it. But this is exactly what I'm talking about in this scene with the olive oil distributor. Is that you see that this guy doesn't really know shit about anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about this business that he's getting into. And in that courthouse scene again, he's like, I got this grand plan. All right, I'm gonna sell the farm. I'm gonna keep my money in the bank. It's going to accrue interest. And then I'm just going to make a living, like, lending people money and charging them interest on it. I'm effectively, like, his idea is that he's going to, like, become a bank or, like, a loan shark, I guess, more accurately. And then when Gavino just goes back to him, like, 5-10 years later, he's like, they're just, like, still on the farm, like, living the same life, effectively.
I think there's a smart choice that they make where Gavino has decided that he's not going to return home after his military service. He's going to go and get his degree in linguistics. There is this narrated exchange between him and his father via letters about his father demanding he come home. And we hear this narration as Gavino is sunbathing on this beautiful beach. And the camera is luxuriating in the beauty of the scene. And the reality is that I think we see in this moment that the hold Efisio has over him is not as ironclad as the father wants. And in fact, Gavino can just simply say, I'm just not coming home. And I think that that where the film gets most interesting to me is in this latter portion where we are reckoning with what happens when that patriarchal dictatorial relationship is broken. And we have the son return and there's this moment when they're both planting crops in the pouring rain, and Efisio has this moment where he says that, like, work is your 2 feet and your 2 hands, and it's not what's in your mind. And at that point, I think it becomes clear after the journey we've taken with these characters that this is not a reconcilable difference, and that these are 2 very different worldviews that do not intersect anymore.
I mean, I also think of that scene where it's the following day after that part where it rains, and Gavino's like laying in bed. He's like, listen, man, I've been working for you like for a while now, for a couple of months, and I haven't been studying. I'm about to go off to college. Like, I'm not going to work today. Like, you could beat me if you want, but I'm not getting out of bed, and I'm giving myself 12 hours today to just study. That's all I'm gonna do. And then he starts doing that, and then he sort of launches into this whole sort of speech on, like, all right, this is what I actually think of you, and you're gonna have to stand there and listen to me, like, pouring my heart out. And he tries to do it for a little bit, and then he realizes that his dad just walked away. That he's not even there. He's not even willing to listen to, like, what his son has to say on the matter. After all,
it just goes to support.
I interpreted that scene as that maybe his dad was never even there.
Oh, that he maybe imagined him a little bit.
That he was either imagining telling him this, or it was,
but it wasn't. Because of the door being like the light of the room, and like there's some like physical logistical elements that like prove that the father was actually there. In my mind, I also thought that could be the way that it is constructed. Definitely supports the idea that it's maybe the father wasn't there.
He certainly seems like a little taken aback when he's like, what?
Oh, he just left. Yeah.
Or maybe it is he imagined him or something.
Yeah, because because he's just laying there and he's looking at the wall, and you very rarely see him turn his head or even see his face. You don't see him say these things. And he's talking about the fact that he's like, I practice this over and over again. Like, I'm gonna get all of this out to you. And it's that moment after saying that he realizes his father's not there. That I kind of viewed it as another one of the times of him practicing it. That he was laying there facing the wall, like thinking about it really hard, and that he was imagining what that scenario would be like. Ultimately, they both end up in the same place of his father is either has never listened or is unwilling to continue to listen, which land on the same point.
Right.
But I don't know. I remember watching that scene and being like,
it's
when I thought that it was like ostensibly a dream or a projection, I saw that as one of those more interesting directorial decisions.
It's a reasonable interpretation of that scene, I would say. Let's see.
What do you guys
do we want to talk about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Timo.
Yeah, well, I was just going to kind of go towards the end of the film, like the final notes of the movie, where we have the author and the real life guy kind of come back in and make an appearance again, and like talk at us about what we've just watched.
Yeah, I mean, to talk about the bookend a little bit, I do think that is quite an interesting like kickstart to the movie, effectively, to have the real guy like prep the actor for like, all right, my father always had this stick in his hand, now go start the movie, and he basically does that, and then
it's like I thought it actually set us up quite well, and then I was disappointed when we didn't have more of this like weird meta sort of narrative, and I was like, oh, okay, we're just like in the narrative
biopic
now.
Should have that. I think every biopic should have that. When we see Springsteen deliver me from nowhere in a couple of months, Jeremy Allen, or no, sorry, real life 70-year-old Bruce Springsteen should be like, all right, Stephen Graham, here, my father always like had this hammer in his hand. Now go wake 8-year-old actor me up.
Yep. That's how it should be done.
I did have to check. I have to correct the record here a little bit. This is an autobiographical film. Gavino Leda did write the story for Padre Padrone.
Yeah.
I have to say, I don't really know. I don't really get it. I don't really get where the real guy opening and closing the narrative fits into the meaning. What do you guys take from that? Other than the novelty of the filmmaking.
I think it's just a little bit of a novelty for me, but if someone else has something, I'd love to hear.
Well, I think I think it's cool, I think it's interesting. I think it is intended to make you think about art making and the process of education and the ways in which artistry can come from unusual backgrounds. I think it is intended to make you think all of that. But the reason why it is not as big a factor in my mind as I think maybe it should be or is intended to be is I don't know who Gavino Leda is.
Fair enough.
The movie doesn't go into any of his career that makes him a figure worthy of study, worthy of this retrospection. And that is where I feel like I'm not as pleased with this second half of the movie when he's older, and why I don't think I'll think about it as much is I don't really feel like it was leading anywhere. I understand the process of him getting more educated, but I was waiting for there to be this. Presumably, what happened in real life is he released some work that garnered him more serious acclaim, and I'm like, well. I'm sure that did happen, but the fact that it's not in this movie made it kind of feel aimless in terms of
help me remember, like literally before we go to that bookend scene, what is the what is Gavino's last action in the movie?
It's more narration of him, like he goes to his village again, and he's like, and I moved back here because I felt that, actually leaving and never coming back to Sardinia would have been like the final victory for my father to like have finally like excised me from this land and in his life and everything. And it's just like, it's sort of like semi-contemporaneous Italy, and like some people walking around on the street and like a truck and stuff like that. Like it's just that kind of footage over this narration of Gavino being like, and this is where I live now. And Tucker, to allude to your question a little bit, or your thoughts, a quick peruse of Gavino Leda's Wikipedia page just shows me that he's most famous for writing this, like writing the autobiography of his life.
Let's see.
Because I think the film, because in that narration period that you were mentioning,
70s Instagram star.
What was I gonna say? He was good. I was gonna say that his achievements as he lays them out are getting a degree in linguistics, becoming a teacher, and then he falls ill, or he falls ill and becomes a teacher.
Yeah, he has some sort of stomach thing or whatever.
Oh yeah.
There's no great academic glory, but I actually don't think that. Just putting him as a real figure to the side for a second. I don't think that the narrative sort of demands that there is one, but I think that the personal victory of the knowledge he gains is key enough. But I actually, Tucker, I agree with you the more I reflect on it, because I think that one of the scenes in the second half that moved me the most is another scene of narration as he's reading through the dictionary and he's learning. And I can see this interest as he's sort of following through the dictionary these different strings of words. And sometimes we hit on ones that are very loaded, like we hit on father and things. But I want to better understand as a character what he gets internally when he wields the power of this knowledge.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that's woefully missing from the end of the film.
Well, I think that's what is, because it's interesting. I think we've gotten so deep into the artistry of this movie and thematics, which is really important. But I reflect on before we started all this that none of us really like this movie all that much, because I think the watching experience of it feels very flat and distant, because
and
the
kind of
characters have
difficult.
such little characterization. There's very few conversations between people, and even the internal monologue of these characters, like their internal identities, are. I have to do a lot of inferring. The movie does very little active work to help you understand its characters and what their mindset is. You're just like, it's too much show don't tell. I'm like, sometimes a little tell
goes
important.
a long way.
Yeah.
Because I actually think there's a clue in what the real Gavino says towards the end of the film that I think is supposed to get to the intent, but it's not one that works for me. He mentions kind of coyly this idea that there's many farmers who think that their life helped shape this story. And I think that there's supposed to be this more universal quality to, and it's almost as we were mentioning earlier in the discussion, this universal quality to the relationship between father and son here. But I think that for me, it's impenetrable in that regard. I think that in some ways it is both too universal and in some ways too specific. And the result for me is it feels like I want to be closer to these characters than I am, but I'm not, because they are in some way supposed to be, as we mentioned earlier, illustrative of this very particular cultural moment and situation that is creating these patriarchal relationships. And because we kind of sit in between those two poles, I just can't take much from the film or feel like I can get particularly close to it.
I agree.
I would tend to agree that, I guess I can cap off my thoughts before we should talk about the scene.
Before we talk about the
briefly.
scene.
Oh, that's right.
But I'll move into that in a moment and just say that, like, I think that on some level that this film is successful. The large chunk of our discussion here was pretty fruitful, I thought, and pretty interesting, and was well grounded in stuff that is present in the film, and the filmmakers are sort of mining good material here. But it cannot be wholly successful, I feel, because of the strange sort of realm that it operates in, that Abram just spoke a little better to, I feel, and I don't need to reiterate. Does anyone else have anything they want to say before we perhaps move into for us, definitely the most infamous segment of this film?
Let's get to it.
Let's just get to it.
So let's get right
into
the animals.
So the braise choking the chicken.
Perhaps
now we're approaching this with humor.
Yes,
as we did when we all watched this scene and realized what was happening. The scene in question is a scene in which a number of
back back up. I think it starts with the conversation with the
sheep.
lamb.
With the
Okay,
sheep.
you want to start. You want to really.
Oh,
you want to
that's right.
This
The
is
shitting
like
in the
this.
milk.
This is all a continuous
It
scene.
is.
You're right.
So
That's a good point.
Gavino is milking a sheep, and the sheep keeps pooping into the milk bucket that he is trying to, and he keeps
So
having to
do
throw
you
it
have
out.
to have the milk bucket where the poop falls? Could you not put the milk bucket somewhere
was
else
thinking
where
the
if the
same.
sheep poops,
Mhm.
it's fine?
Usually with cow, you're more underneath it,
Yeah,
and
you're
then
under, but a
you're off
cow is
to
a
the
lot
side.
taller than a sheep, so
That's a good point too. So maybe you kind of have to do come at it from the rear here.
they have developed the anti-poop technology in
We'll
the
get there.
80s, and so
Yeah.
that's it's just,
That's true. Yeah, the poop shield.
Yeah.
But then because he gets frustrated with
He
this,
does.
and then the sheep starts to talk back to him.
Yeah, he begins
and be like,
to
"I'm gonna shit in your milk."
He begins to shine with the sheep. He begins to have a mind connection with the sheep as they discuss like why they are angry at each other and why they are doing what they're doing.
Yeah. In which he then his solution to the whole thing
Yeah,
is gonna plug the sheep's butt so it can't poop.
yeah.
And so he puts his
head
up against it
Yes,
to stop the poop, but then it still happens.
it still happens.
And then he decides that
He's gonna
well,
beat the sheep
he has
up.
to hit. He has
Yeah.
to hit the sheep. He has to physically
Well, of course.
harm it to.
Mhm.
that's how his
How else
father
are you
would have
gonna-
solved the problem.
Of
Exactly.
course, yes. But then the step goes further that he has his sexual awakening with this
He
sheep.
sees two other sheep having sex.
Yes.
This is all happening
Yes.
within the sequence.
There's a bunch of sheep
concurrently.
around while he's
and he's like urethra.
Let's take this slow though,
Okay.
because what is the effect for you guys of the goat talking? Is a sheep a goat? I don't care. What's the effect of it talking?
It's a sheep.
It's a sheep.
They're definitely sheep farms.
It's
I
like
mean, I
But
guess
it's goat's milk. He's milk. Do you milk sheep?
I guess you
Yeah,
you
why
can-
not?
Yeah,
It's
sheep,
a mammal.
sheep
It's a-
cheese.
it
You're
has-
making
it
that
has-
sheep cheese.
it has nipples.
Okay, so answer that. Why? What is the effect of it talking?
I think that it
It has
again,
a woman's voice.
It does have a woman's
Yes.
voice. It speaks to, I feel, the recurring idea or filmic utilization, the filmic tool of internal monologue here, but in a way that is far more fantastical than anything else we've discussed. The utilization of internal monologue here, but it speaks to like the life, the experience that Gavino has up on the top of these mountains with these animals.
Well, and that
Vast
he's
swaths of his life are probably just hanging around these animals. I mean, as a child, you probably like do humanize them, you anthropomorphize them a little bit. I mean, you would have to, otherwise. I mean, I guess arguably that does make you insane for doing that, but perhaps doing the opposite would more so make you feel more isolated.
yeah. I think it comes from his loneliness and the isolation of being alone and of both like physically, but the alone within his family, and his father has
As
real no love
someone
for him.
also who grew up around farm animals and having herds and things like that, you do when they're doing something you don't like, you do just yell at them. You just like, what the hell are you doing? Like, stop doing what you're doing, you stupid animal. I'm trying to do something here, and you're just getting in the way. Like, you just do that. It's just something that happens. You get your frustration out ultimately.
I like that.
But do you take it the next step?
Tucker, I do not, personally
Well,
speaking.
Because here's what I'm gonna say. I like that reading about the internal monologue. I think that's
Mhm.
good. But I think why this whole extended sequence that we're now going to talk about is so, I don't know, is that the feminine voice,
Yes.
the way that you're bringing the animal to life and talking about its nipples and everything, and then putting that right next to the other two sheep having sex, is it creates this like very perverse quality to the relationship
Definitely.
between Gavino and the sheep.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that
Which then
perhaps
escalates.
the anthropomorphization of those animals does wrap around filmically, or at least in the imagery, towards the end of this sequence when we jump to actual humans having sex with each other a little
But
bit.
before we get there,
But before
What
we get
happens?
there, we jump cut to Gavino's friend, who is also having to raise animals somewhere nearby in the countryside. He has this donkey, and we see him stacking up some stones to get roughly even with the donkey as it is tied up. And then we see him unzipping his pants and pulling them down, and then
donkey.
And then we like zoom in or whatever. So it's important to note
crash soon.
we don't crash zoom. It's important to note
that would be some
you don't
70s
see anything
awesomeness.
actually happen in any of these
Yes,
scenes.
of course.
It is we're not compromising these animals or these children. We are just strongly implying what is going on here. That implication being that these children are having sex with the animals that they are raising.
You hear it too.
You hear
it in the sound.
You
design.
hear it. Yeah.
The sound design starts early in this like panting.
Yes.
And then the cacophony of panting as it becomes this sort of like this shared cultural experience of the people of the time, in which the loneliness and their frustration with the time needs to be overcome or expressed in some way sexually. The children do it with the animals, and the adults do it with each other, and it becomes a sort of like everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
I don't like that framing, but I think that it's an apt one, because there's this weird thing when all of the kids are. I can't get Timo's whole it doesn't matter. The whole chicken
choking the
sequence.
chicken.
Yes.
It's not just preposterous that we're watching this unfold, because it's a group of boys,
right?
A group of chickens in the chicken coop. But then we see Gavino's father observing them.
Yeah, and he's
just like, he has like
a wry, knowing smile. He's kind of just like, this is what happens. Which, what a unique perspective to take.
And then when we do the jump to these boys having grown up and being adults, and they're all carrying this, I thought it was a coffin during like a funeral procession. I think it just might be some sort of like cultural like holiday festival of some kind. Like a celebration of a saint or something, I think is what they might be doing. But they're all carrying the statue.
But like, whose face is the statue?
I don't know, some saint. I'm not familiar.
I thought it was the father's face.
Oh.
It is at the end.
At the end, yeah.
It's literally him dressed up as the saint.
Okay.
I don't know what the imagery, what that is.
I don't know either, to be honest.
But anyway, they're all under this like veil as they're carrying the statue, and they are teasing each other, having had this shared experience that like, oh, this guy went to the brothel and he's like, yeah, these women are beautiful, but where are their tails? But kind of thing. I'm sure that kills in Sardinia. I'm sure.
But
okay,
we allude
Jerry.
to this, like that, like when we are adults and we are in a much more filmically grounded sequence, that they confirm that yes, this happened. We all did this in our youth.
Well, there's also another thing, because we move from what the boys are doing to two different just human couples having sex.
Yeah. We get a little bit of the replaying of the smoking the cigarette backwards again.
Yeah, well, and that one that's kind of, I don't know, is that like your Hollywood? Because you know your Hollywood like cigarette in the bed is like implies sex every time, but then this guy is that he's putting it in backwards, and so getting the girl to do it. I mean, clearly, there's some cunnilingus involved, facial expressions here,
right?
And but then. Yeah, we see it's the father and the mother having sex. Like he sees the kids hanging out with the chickens, and he gets inspired himself. If we're gonna take these things that we see as cause and effect, right? Leading one into the other. Then he goes home and is to the wife to get it on. Which also just must make the relationship between the father and the mother very strange, because the father is shown to be like out and about and out in the pasture a lot of the time. So does he only come home to like bang?
It is also it's unclear how
so.
often or when they come home. Like are Gavino and the father up there for days, weeks, months, like without coming back to the house?
So what I want to ask you guys about, and then I think this is about expanded all I have to say about Padrone, is
Fair enough.
what is the film trying to do with this scene? Because I think that
Hmm.
there, because something I'm wondering about is the idea of substituting a human for an animal.
Mhm.
And because I'm also thinking about, go back to the very beginning of the discussion, the backwoods cigar smoker gets killed in the same fashion as a sheep right after the
Sure.
time jump.
Mhm.
He is killed on the block that a sheep is killed on. I think that
Well, right next to it.
yeah, with the same process. It's the
Exactly,
same.
yeah.
It's the same tool. What I wonder about is we see these sex acts and we see this killing, and they are interchanging humans and animals. Is there what's happening there? Is this like the start of a useful thesis about the film? Do you think?
that the like animals as human substitution for when the loneliness is too great, maybe.
Well, I'm just not sure. I don't know what
Yeah.
if the film is trying to conflate or purposefully replace where a human should be in an act as an animal,
Yeah.
or where an animal should be in an act as a human.
It's certainly possible that in his writing of this, that Gavino Leda was, alluding to the dehumanization that can come alongside, of being like forced into certain lines of work or being beaten mercilessly or whatever. The dehumanization that results in this society and this cordoned off society that is being protected by the men in charge, the patriarchs like his father. I think that's certainly something that can be alluded to. And also, I think, in his writing of this, I'm sure that that sequence that we just talked about is probably he's being honest about his experiences. I have to assume that it was also like a very perverse, very like I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. Just a very like challenging experience for people unfamiliar with this world, with this area of Italy to
Mhm.
read. Like, yeah, this is what happens. Like me and my friends all this all happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's something to the idea of
Mhm.
Gavino being almost raised as though he's livestock by his father.
I think there's something to that, definitely, that he is drawing some connection here. That for again, like we said, with the internal narration
Yeah.
of the sheep, that they were, for better or worse, like his peers. At
Yeah,
least
and
he
it
sort
makes
of
me
viewed him
that
that way at
actually
times.
that thesis makes me think about the line of from the father who says that the sheep are here, the flock is here to be maintained and exploited. And you could also then think about the children of the father in the same way, that the
Mhm.
Leda family is
Yeah,
flock
definitely.
to be maintained and to be exploited, which is definitely an interesting perspective to have on your own kids.
I would say so. I would say so.
Yeah.
All right.
Score
Is
time?
that all?
I think that's all from
Yeah.
me, man. I don't have anything more.
All right, fair enough. You want some pulp details?
Give it to us. Give it to us.
At the 1977 Cannes Film Festival, Padrone was the sole winner of the films in competition that year. Jury president that year was an Italian filmmaker we might be familiar with, a little guy named Roberto Rossellini, friend of the show, who of course directed Rome Open City,
Yep.
that we talked about a
Yeah.
long time ago.
That's way up there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's still okay. Well, continue, and then I'm gonna deliver a thesis about Italians in general based on all these films that we've seen.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, other notable members of the film jury were another friend of the show. Hey, shout out. Jacques Demy was on the jury
Oh.
this year, director of Umbrellas of Cherbourg. And of course, everyone's favorite movie critic that almost got a movie made about her by one Quentin Tarantino, Pauline Kael, was on the jury
Pauline
this year.
Kael. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we. Is that we?
Of the 22 other films in competition, notable inclusions, notable competitors were Three Women by Robert Altman, The American Friend by Wim Wenders, Bound for Glory by Hal Ashby, and Ridley Scott's debut film, The Duelists, was also in competition.
Dang, I kind of would have liked to have watched any of those.
Yeah, honestly, kind of, sort of.
Oh, that's how it feels. You know, we're doing this and we're like, oh, hey, oh, this is
Oh,
other.
these other
Yeah.
ones.
That is the intended effect, I think, of me including those other films in competition. Is like if we didn't really care for the film, or if it was just a little too out there, like perhaps this one was. We're like, these other films would have been perhaps more interesting, or are now more celebrated, certainly.
Yeah.
I think this film is a little too in there.
Oh, Abram.
So
Oh,
my thesis about Italians ties right into that, because my thesis is that they just love having sex, and they have since long before Jesus was born, and that the Christians and the Romans were upset with each other because the Christians did not like all this public sex and this gay sex, but the Romans had quite a lot of that, and they haven't changed at all. The old habits die hard. Italians, they love getting it on in the bedroom, and that
Fair
is
enough.
really, really important, and out in the field too, as we saw in this movie.
The chickens, the donkeys, and the Italians.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Let's see, The Birds, the Bees, the Italians. That is the lowest ranked film on
It
our
is.
list.
is.
Where does this one go? You guys have scores. I'm ready to find out. 3, 2, 1.
Ow.
Okay, okily dokily. We've got a score. It's a tie. We're going to have to do a little tie breaking, but 4.8 is the number created by our intelligent machine called a spreadsheet. The point breakdown is that Abram and I gave it a 4.0 flat each, and then Tucker gave it a 5.3, and Tanner gave it a 6.0. So 4.8 is going to put us right around
Tiebreaker.
a little tiebreaker with only a little bit up from the Birds, the Bees, and the Italians.
Mhm.
We got to talk about Under the Son of Satan
Yes.
versus Padre Padrone. Tucker.
Yes, Tucker. Question.
I can't for the life of me remember what this movie.
I
This
remember
is-
this one very clearly.
Yeah,
this
this
is the
is-
exorcism one.
This is the one with the priest, and he
Oh,
does the
the
exorcism,
priest,
and
and
he's
he's
having
like-
the crisis of faith.
And the teenager
Oh.
kills herself, and he carries the body. He's
Oh.
improperly handling the body.
Mhm.
Yeah, we didn't even do this one that long ago. This was like maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's not that not that long ago. For the record, though, I would still go Under the Son of Satan above.
Yeah,
above Padre
I'm
Padrone.
I agree.
I'm
I
with
agree.
Tanner.
I would.
Okay. Well, you're outvoted.
Okay.
How about that?
Oh yeah, because I gave holy crap. I gave Under the Son of Satan a 1.5.
Yeah, you didn't care for this one. You didn't care for that one at all. No, it's no wonder you don't remember that.
Yeah, really.
I honestly, God, I blocked it from my memory. You can see my reaction when I see 4.8. I'm like, I have no idea. I had absolutely zero clue.
But easy choice there. Padre
Yes.
Padrone is going to go at spot number 50. Nope, not spot number 49.
That's right.
One below Under the Son of Satan, one above The Go-Between, another film
Hey.
I don't remember very well.
Another film about children watching sex. From what I can
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah,
It is about that.
this Cannes Film Festival.
Although actually,
man.
this one's not about that.
No, this
No,
one
it-
is
it
about
contains
books and
that.
reading.
It contains that, but it's not about that, I would say.
Let's be about the next film on our list. How about that?
Oh, certainly, Timo. Certainly.
Certainly.
Certainly. Oh, how about a beer?
Does someone want to accompany me on a broken accordion of sorts? No.
Uh,
No?
Get to your
It
voice.
sounded fine to me.
It sounded fine to me.
I wanted to bring
Also,
this up
he
too,
learned
is like
he learned the accordion at some point during this movie. Like we never really saw that.
I wanted to bring this up. I think the accordion music might be also imagined because I was like, A, it's broken, and B, how do you learn? But I digress.
Yeah, but also Tanner, your voice sounds like a bro.
Oh, too true, good man, too true.
Yes, an insult.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Wheel, what's your deal? Give us a movie that makes us squeal. Is it on digital or is it on real? Wheel, what's your deal?
And we've landed on the number 46.
Ooh, that is a recent film, isn't it?
Thank God Almighty.
We've been playing in the oldies here a little bit. Well, we are
I need
jumping
some-
back.
Under the Son of God, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I need some new.
We
in
are
me.
running back to a year that seems perhaps, a million years ago in itself. That is the year 2017.
Oh my God.
This is a film that hails from, let's check it out here, a film that hails from Denmark. This is a film that stars, I've heard of some of these people. Dominic West, I've heard of him. Elizabeth Moss, heard of her. Claes Bang, heard of him. This is a film by, hey, wouldn't you know it, friend of the show, Ruben Östlund. It's his 2017 film, The Square.
Oh!
The Square. Ooh.
Oh, interesting.
Returning with a vengeance, Ruben Östlund.
Two-time friend of the show.
Exactly.
No,
Three times. We've talked about that movie 3 times.
We've talked about Triangle of Sadness over and over again, man.
Yeah.
That's our most reviewed movie.
Tucker, it is amongst my most watched movies on Letterboxd. I've watched Triangle of Sadness, a movie I don't care for that much, 4 times.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I have to say, I'm actually very excited.
Me
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Me too. I've
why not?
seen bits and pieces of this
Because
one.
at least it's not Triangle of Sadness again.
But it's also a
Exactly.
shape, you know?
It's the oh yeah, he loves his Shape movie, doesn't he?
It's a shape movie, yeah.
And we like The Shape of Water,
That's
We
true.
did like The Shape
Yeah.
of Water.
which is another Shape movie.
Shape movie. Anyway.
Movie. Well,
and then we can watch The Circle, starring Tom Hanks.
Oh yes,
Emma
of
Watson.
course. And then we could watch Sphere.
we could watch
and then-
Wizard
and
of
then
Oz,
Cube.
Wizard of
Cube.
Oz at the Sphere.
And then we
Okay.
no, Tim,
No,
Timo,
no. Do
let's
we
not
want a
that.
plot description? The Letterboxd plot description on this one?
Sure,
Yeah.
hit us with it.
A prestigious Stockholm museum's chief art curator finds himself in times of both professional and personal crisis as he attempts to set up a controversial new exhibit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've
Yep.
maybe seen half this one. I don't remember how it ends,
okay.
but I
Never
remember.
seen this one
I
before.
remember there's a good amount about this setup here, and yeah, it's a Ruben Östlund movie. That's how I would put it. So yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch. Cool. Stick around here on the channel. We'll be covering that next time. And thank you guys for discussing Padre Padrone. It's good that we all don't do that to each other because that would make this show real difficult.
What, beat each other?
What?
Yeah, like treat you.
What? Do with the choke our chickens together?
No,
What?
no, Tucker.
no.
Beat each other up. I didn't even get to do my joke that we watched Padre Padrone, which means Father Padrone.
Awesome.
Because I know what Padre translates to, but I don't know what
Don't know what
Padrone
Padrone
translates to.
translates to.
Even though I do, because it says so on Letterboxd.
Okay, that's enough from us. You know what I say. Stay cool, keep warm. Peace.